Who is the mystery of prayer revealed for? That's a loaded question. The mystery of prayer revealed is really for everybody, but at its core, really what the mystery or who the mystery of prayer revealed is for someone who wants to ultimately learn the original purpose and power of prayer. The original purpose of prayer is not so much to talk to God. The original purpose of prayer was to hear and to learn from God so that you can know how to talk to God. So the mystery of prayer revealed is for a person who wants to experience prayer at that level. The mystery of prayer revealed is really for a person that wants to be counseled by God for every area of their lives. God is concerned with every area of our lives. I've seen counselors for a lot of things that I had issues with, drugs, alcohol, marital counselors from secular environments, from professionals, from spiritual leaders, and a good counselor will always give you a perspective that maybe you haven't thought of, or they'll give you a perspective that maybe you have thought of, but maybe they'll give you more practical suggestions as to how to accomplish that perspective so that what you're being counseled on can be remedied. Well, when you're counseled by God, you're getting the ultimate counsel. You're getting the ultimate perspective. You're getting the ultimate remedy. You're getting the solution to exactly what it would take to root that thing out of your life. If we believe that God is concerned with our entire being, what I mean by that is our bodies, our souls, and our spirit, which He is, of course, then doesn't it make sense that God should counsel us on all three, facets of our being? So now I'm experiencing a level of counsel by God where God is counseling me on how to do my marriage, how to think, what to learn, who to allow to teach me. God is counseling me on my marriage in a way that I have never experienced before, where my marriage is just taken off. And I thought that I loved my wife. Now it's like God is teaching me some things about marriage and how I'm supposed to love my wife that I had never thought of, that no one had ever taught me before. God is teaching me about my finances, how to better invest and, where I'm supposed to do with my money. And, God is teaching me about my diet, about what I'm putting in my body. I'll never forget it. One day I was at a food store and God spoke to me, and He said, read the label. And I'm reading the label about this product that I love. It's one of my favorite foods, and God told me, He was telling me, what does that mean? And there in the label, there were chemicals that I couldn't even pronounce, you know what I'm saying? And so God was just revealing to me that I was putting things in my body that my body was not designed to even process, and so God began to really give me, He became my personal nutritionalist, my personal dietitian. And even now in the season that I'm in, God is teaching me about the importance of physical exercise. So in a sense, God has become a personal trainer to me. So the mystery of prayer revealed is for a person who wants to be counseled by God at that level. There's a lot of people that are suffering from a lot of, physical ailments. And a lot of the physical ailments that we're suffering from is because of what we're putting in our bodies. And what I've discovered about God is that, of course, He's concerned about even that level of what we do with ourselves. So the mystery of prayer revealed is for a person who wants to experience God even at the level of being counseled about what to eat and how to exercise. The mystery of prayer revealed is for a person who wants to also get the story that God has pre-written about their lives. Psalms 139, verses 16 through 17 in that area tells us that God, before all of our days, even one of them came into being, that God had already written things out in this book, and the important things about that book is that in the book of Revelation, chapter 20, I believe it is, it talks about being judged and this book being opened called the Book of Life, and other books, plural, being opened, how we're going to be judged according to the works that are found in that book. And Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10 tells us that we are God's workmanship, that we're created by God to do His works. That's our purpose. So if we're not hearing from God and learning from God as to what those works are, and if we're going to be judged according to the works found in those books, and the books that it's referring to is the book on your life. You know, as I mentioned before, one of the secrets about Jesus' prayer life is he was being read to according to the volume of the book that was written about him. That's why he was so on point with everything that he needed to do, including the time of his death. He knew when it was all supposed to happen. You know, none of us are going to live that life. That was for Jesus' life. And we're all supposed to give information related to our life purpose. And that information is revealed to us when God begins to read the manuscript, you know, or the script that we're supposed to be fleshing out or acting out of our lives. So the mystery of prayer revealed is for a person that wants to experience God even at that level. You know, the mystery of prayer revealed is for a person who simply wants to learn to hear and learn from God simply like Jesus did. I mean, ultimately, that's the whole purpose of the mystery of prayer revealed, you know, to reveal insight and knowledge as to how that process works. But, you know, my ultimate desire is for the mystery of prayer revealed to get into the hands of people who are, you know, going to church, not going to church, people who question the practices of church. You know, there's a lot of crazy stuff going in a lot of different ministries, and I won't go into that, but we're all aware that there's a lot of ministries that, you know, people will even say, well, there is no perfect place. Well, you know, I used to think, and I was taught that too. Well, yes, there is. A perfect place in a ministry is one who's teaching people how to perfect themselves. And the only way that can be taught is if they're teaching people how to be perfected by God. In other words, how to be matured and to develop by God. You know, and the only way that can be taught is teaching people how to hear and learn from God. You know, I can't, you know, what I discovered personally was that I couldn't experience that level of perfection in God and even knowing what the perfect will of God for my life was as long as I was continually being taught by humans. Because a human being, even though the knowledge is good, even though, you know, it could help me, but ultimately God knows everything about me. He created me for His purposes. So what doesn't it make sense that He should be teaching me this level of knowledge? So the mystery of prayer revealed is really for everybody. You know, one of the reasons why a lot of people don't believe in God today, unfortunately, is because of the, you know, behavior that they see in a lot of Christians' lives. You know, a lot of the hypocrisy and a lot of the crazy things that shouldn't be happening in those environments. And the reason, you know, at its core, why they're happening, you know, in terms of negative things, is iniquity, which I'll leave that one alone, you know, because I wrote a book on the topic. But ultimately, it's because people aren't taught and trained how to hear God. And even the spiritual leaders that are having influence over these realms or these environments, you know, are not focusing on teaching and training people how to hear like Jesus did. You know, so my desire is for this book to land in the hands of apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, teachers, bishops, elders, deacons, priests, house church leaders, you know, what is now being called kingdom coaches or kingdom teachers, any type of spiritual leader or mentor of any type that belongs to any secular organization or any spiritual organization, whether it's denominational or non-denominational. It doesn't matter your religion, what your belief structure is. My desire is for the mystery of prayer revealed to get into those hands so that they can begin to teach the people that they have influence at the level that this book talks about. The best way that we can serve those that we have influence over, if God has sanctified and ordained you to be any of those types of leaders before people, is to teach and train them how to hear the voice of God. You know, I think people now are beginning to get tired, for the most part, you know, about just going to church or going to synagogue or going to, you know, this other type of spiritual environment to go and just simply continually hear stories about God and hear stories about interpretations of His Word from human perspectives. Ultimately, people need and they want to hear from God Himself so that God can tell them about Himself and so that God can give them His interpretation of His Word from His original understanding and how He wants them to apply that level of knowledge to their lives. And to me, that's the ultimate service that any type of spiritual leader that has influence over people, that's the ultimate level of service they can provide to the people. As I've noted before in prior videos, that the more that I'm exposed to different environments that are spiritual in one area or different, doesn't matter, different religions. I'm being exposed to a lot of different environments right now as I'm teaching these things and as I'm, interviewing people and just trying to capture their heart in terms of what is the purpose of their organization and what they're doing and in terms of what the ultimate purpose is, and based off of our conversations, as I alluded to before, the ultimate purpose, if God is the foundation, the God of the Bible, then the ultimate foundation and purpose of that organization is to teach and train people how to hear the voice of God, not to teach and train people how to hear the human's voice, not to teach and train the people how to hear the organization's beliefs or practices voice. If ministries and ministers would teach at this level, they would better serve the body of Christ. People would truly be connected to the head of the body, which is God Himself, which is Christ, the anointed teacher within us. People would be hearing from the head Himself. And ultimately, who the mystery of prayer revealed is for, as I mentioned in the beginning, it's for everybody. But really, it's for people who truly want to hear and learn from God for themselves, and for people who want to teach and train people how to hear God so that they can experience God at the highest level possible, just like Jesus did as a human being. That's who the mystery of prayer revealed is for.